Okay, hello everybody, and welcome back to some live commentary. So I'm doing live commentary on a couple of my custom chess positions. This one's called Split Chain. So let's just hop right into the game. So my opponent played g4, and I can take this pawn on d6. So what both sides are trying to do is they're both trying to promote their pawns, and it's fine to sacrifice a piece in order to stop the pawns from promoting. So here I sacrifice my bishop for the pawn. But now I'm going to be winning my opponent's all three of my opponent's pawns near promotion. So I would say that's a good trade for me. So we're getting right into the start of the game. So I'm going to be playing two custom chess positions today. One is called Split Chain and one is called Citadel Crumble. And both of these custom positions utilize long chains of pawns. They use long chains of pawns, and in this position, I think the best strategy, though there's many, is to sacrifice a piece for some of the pawns around the promotion to free up the pieces, and then of course you want to try to promote your pawns. So I've already won. I've won my opponent's pawns near promotion. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to push my pawns forward towards promotion. Okay, so we're going to go a5. My opponent's probably going to play rook f5, and then I'll play rook d8. Then they'll play bishop f3, and I'll probably go knight e7. Yep. So actually in this position I can go bishop d6. So I want to make some trades of pieces. Oh, and then if they take back, yeah. Now let's go a4. So I'm just pushing my pieces towards a promotion. Okay, king g2 is played. I can just go a3. If they take, I'll go b2. But they won't. Oh, they did. Okay. So I should be winning this game. We're going to create a second challenge and keep playing. So as we play, I'm just going to commentate some of the main themes of the position and what's going on. So yeah, that was game one. So I sacrificed my bishop and I removed my opponent's promotion threats, and then I pushed my own promotion threats. So just wait for another game. So yeah, what I'm doing is I'm using chess tempo. I'm using chess tempo to play my custom chess positions. You can send a custom chess challenge in the lobby, and then any player can accept. So I found that this method is. So I'm going to start with queen f4, which is one of the moves. And the idea behind queen f4 is that you can play now knight e2, knight e2, and then knight c1, and then knight takes a2. So you're directly trying to win the opponent's pawns in your promotion. And also queen f4 protects the pawn on f5. So I'll play knight e2 now. So it's interesting because I'm going to be going over two positions, and in this position, it seems like more often than not, at least one side sacrifice pieces for pawns, but in the next pawn chain position I'm going to be going through, normally in that position the pawn chains stay intact. So there are two different pawn chain style positions. So here my opponent has given up the d5 pawn, but if I were to take on d5, if I take on d5, my opponent has bishop c6, which develops their bishop. I mean, I can take on c4 as well, so maybe I'll just play that. Yeah. Okay. Let's take here. And take on c4. Okay, bishop g3. I'll trade off my opponent's dark squared bishop. So here I might actually play queen d3 because I want to protect my f pawn. So yeah, let me do that instead of taking on b3. Because I can play knight c1 next. I can play knight c1 next, and then I can win the pawn on b3. Okay, let's go knight c1. Okay. My opponent's actually going to be winning my pawn. So let's go queen c4. And I'm going to go king g1 just to stop queen f2. Yeah, I guess one of the drawbacks with taking the d5 pawn is my opponent gets some activity. So if I were to do that again, maybe I would just go knight c1 instead of taking here. Okay, let's go and make some trades. Still believe, because I'll be up material, that trading is good for me. But I have to watch out for potentially getting checkmated. Okay, let's go knight d2. Let's go knight f1. Now I'm threatening a checkmate on a7. Let's go try to trade. pieces. Because I am up a pawn, so I can try for an endgame maybe. Okay, go bring the queen into e6, offering a trade of queens. My opponent will not accept this, but they'll probably go to g4, and then I can try to trade off. So yes, the queen goes to g4. Let's go here to e2. Rook's gonna come to h1. Yep, I can move there. So my opponent's trying to checkmate me, but they don't really have any. They don't have any mate here. Okay. Bring in the queen. Okay, the knight goes to c6. I'm wondering if I can take rook takes a6. You know what? Let's do this. Rook takes a6. Check. I believe I'll have enough pressure, and my knight does a good job of defending. Let's go here. Queen c5 check. Rook e7 check. Okay, my opponent gives up the queen. Now I'm going to win one of the pawns in check. Let's take both pawns. Now just pushing our pawn closer to promotion. The g5 is here. Go g6. g7. Yeah, this should be game over. I still have to make sure that I... Okay, that helped. Can take the rook now. Promote to queen. Check. Check. And... We got a rematch here. So, let's see what my opponent plays. Okay, bishop g3 is not a great move. It doesn't really help white's cause much. Okay, I'm gonna play knight c6, bishop d6. You can trade these pieces if you want. Okay. Now I'm gonna go for my opponent's pawns. And they allowed me to take it, so I'm taking. Bishop e4. My opponent can... Yeah, my opponent could take on c4. let's take back. Go 97. Let's reposition this knight. D5. Now let's go b5, which could weaken the king, but just trying to bring my pieces in, my pawns in. Here I'll take and check, and then go rook e8. Here this should be, yeah. If my opponent were to take back, I get the pawn promotion. Okay. Okay, we have another game, and let's go with h4. So just showcasing the different opening moves. So h4 is a direct move that kind of aims to reinforce the 3 pawns that I have on the king side. So now I go g4, and then I'll go h5. But the best plan for black in the position is knight d7, knight f8, and then to take on h7. Queen d7 is a strange move, but I suppose it's playable. I'm going to go h5 because they were going to take, and then once I took back with this f pawn, they were going to take on g4, so that was their idea. But with h5, I've kind of solidified the pawns. But I thought their knight should go to d7 because they want to be winning this pawn. So now I'm going to play queen e3. And the idea behind that move is I'm freeing up the c1 square for my knight to come there. So knight e2, knight c1, and knight takes. So I've kind of gotten rid of some of my opponent's threats to promote a pawn, but I'm not pushing through just yet. If we were to trade all our pieces now, then my pawns would become stronger. So my objective right now is to trade as many pieces as possible. So let's start with king g2. My opponent will probably play. Shit, they cannot play rook e8. Okay. Queen f3. I'm looking to play bishop g3 next. If I can trade my opponent's queen, then the move h6 h6 looks better. But right now my opponent's bishop is blocking that, but I can get trade. Okay. Now I'm looking at yeah, so I think what I can do before going h6, because after taking in g7, my opponent can play knight b7 and they can give up just one rook. So I'm going to bring my my rook to e1 first. See, my opponent is way behind on the pawn promotion. Because I sacrificed a piece. So here we're gonna make the trade, and now I'm going to play h6. So we've traded enough pieces so that this is just winning, and I promote to queen there and win the game. Okay. So bishop e2 is played. Let's play bishop d6. Bishop d6 is a common move right at the beginning for for black, and basically any move. I'm wondering if I should let my opponent take on d5. Probably not. I'm gonna play bishop c6 because we saw in an earlier game that taking on d5 was actually fine to allow white to take, because black just gets more activity. See, right now my bishop is blocked by my d5 pawn. But as I play bishop c6, I'm allowing my knight to go to d7 and now to f8 and then to take on h7. More ideal would be to take on g6 if possible, and then have a bishop on e8 or queen on e8 to take back, because then we could get rid of all the pawns. So that would be even more ideal. So let's go knight f8. So my opponent brings the knight to f4. I'm just going to take. Queen takes. And I'm going to go bishop e8 to try and take on g6. Okay, let's take on g6. Now I've gotten rid of some of my opponent's pawns, so trading pieces is probably better for me now. So let's get that rook out of the way. And my opponent makes that trade, which I guess they're winning an exchange. But when they win the exchange, they're trading off more pieces, so I'm fine with that. And now, okay, I guess I can play bishop e4, or I can play yes, I'm one move behind because I need to take on h7. Okay, let's take on h7, and then let's play b5. Now the next plan of attack is to keep trading, but my opponent is going to make this difficult as they're bringing their pieces in to the position. So one idea I have is bishop b1, which kind of cuts the rook out of the game. Okay, let's go a6, so that after rook b7 check, they can't win the b5 pawn. Can win the g7 pawn though. That's alright, I can go bishop b1 now, which cuts the other rook out of the game. Now rook e8 is threatening checkmate on e1, so they'll move the king. Okay, let's check. Then let's protect the pawn, but while we're protecting the pawn, we're also preparing there. I prepared bishop d3, and I want to trade the rook so I can yeah, just take the rook. I wanted to promote my pawn. Okay. request. Okay, let's go queen f4, bishop e6, queen f3. Now my opponent's looking to go knight e7 and then trade both their and get all my pawns out of the way. So I'm going to play h4 to protect my g6 pawn. Okay, my opponent's looking for a checkmate mate threat, so I'm going to play bishop g3 to stop them from threatening checkmate. Okay, now the knight comes in. Let's take that bishop, and let's go h5 to protect the g6 pawn, as I was mentioning earlier. And now let's go g4 to protect the f5 pawn. Go knight e2. My opponent's pieces are a little bit misplaced. So I think in this position, I might not even go for winning those two pawns. Let's go and try to counter my opponent's activity. Just because their pieces are so their pieces are out of place. So if I can go here, knight f4. Okay, knight f4. Now let's bring the knight into e6. So you don't have to trade that knight for the pawns. You can also use your knight to get more activity over your opponent and help promote your pawns. And this normally happens if your opponent's piece is a little bit misplaced. Then you can do a plan like that. But there's still much more chess to be played. I'm going to play queen f4, just threatening knight c7 check. Okay, they block it. Now I can play knight takes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to play knight takes g7. Because if my opponent takes a knight, I could take their knight on d6. Okay. I think I'm close to breaking through in this position. Because g7 is coming soon. So my opponent's going to bring the queen to the 8th rank probably to try and defend. Or not. Now I can play g7. And game is over. Okay. I'm going to find a new opponent. And a couple more games of this position, and then we will switch to Citadel Crumble. Let's start 1g4. So here in the first game of the stream we had bishop takes, and the idea after bishop takes is that after queen e8, actually white takes on a2, and once black takes back, white plays queen c2 to defend g6. So that's kind of the main idea, because once black just takes all white's pawns, it's a little bit hard for white to play after that, so white ends up having to sacrifice the rook. And that's perfectly fine for white as well. Though that 9, I haven't really found that get played much, because most people don't know it's not an intuitive move at all to take on a2 with the rook. So here my opponent's trying to play queen d6, so I will play knight e2 to play mate queen d6 with bishop g3. And here I'm ahead in development, so if they take with the queen, I'm fine to trade queens and bring my knight into the center of the board. And if they don't trade queens, yeah, again, the knight is a little bit misplaced, so I don't need to hurry to try to win my opponent's queenside pawns in this position. I think I can just push forward with my own plan. So I'm going to go to f4. My opponent seems to have poor internet connection. But maybe because this knight on c7 is actually doing a good job of defending, instead of knight f4, I should have played knight c1 and then knight takes a2 in this position. Because last game, it was a bit different in that my position was just so much, my opponent's knight was misplaced, so then I was able to bring my knight in. Because now I want to trade rooks, but once I trade rooks, my opponent's going to play a5, a4, a3, and try to promote. And if I were to trade, if my opponent takes back with the knight, actually let's do that, because at least I can win the pawn. Okay, now we can play h6, and if they take, play g7. So just like that, we're going forward to the pawn promotion. Now either their connection went again, or they quit the game. So let me create another challenge. And then we can go from here. Because this game is winning. Here we have a new game. And maybe not. So yeah, now's a good time to quickly just talk about the evaluation of this position. So actually, when we run this position to high depth, the evaluation is around minus 0.2. So black has a slight advantage. And the reason for this is because black has more pawns on the queen side ready to promote, and the pieces can develop a little bit better for black. Like the bishops are towards the queen side, and white kind of has to develop a little bit awkwardly. Like they can't play bishop d3, so that kind of helps. So I'm gonna go queen f4, and let's see what is played now. Okay, so bishop c6, knight e2, and knight d7 should be the best move here. Yep, knight d7, I'll go knight c1, then they should play knight f8. And this is kind of a style, if black plays knight f8, that we both kind of trade our pieces for the opponent's pawns. Yep, queen c7 is also fine. After queen c7, I can play h4. Let's play h5. Yeah, the other reason why Black is ever so slightly better. I mean, a standard chess game is like plus 0.3 for white, so this is like even more even than a standard chess game, despite white getting the first move. Is that once white trades off this knight, black still has like these two pawns here, but if black were to trade off a knight for a couple pawns, then white only has this like one extra pawn here. So my opponent wants to play rook f4, so I'm gonna play g4, and now queen g2. My rook is kind of like our rooks are kind of stuck in the corner unless we sacrifice a piece for the pawns, which is like another benefit of doing that. Okay, so my opponent played knight f8, so I'm going to trade my knight off for these two pawns. And my opponent will probably do the same. So far, this is a very balanced game. Okay, first they play b5. Let me play bishop d2, and I'm going to start repositioning my rooks to fight on the e file. Okay, maybe I should have played rook a1 first because I want to recapture with the rook, but that's okay. Slight inaccuracy by me. Okay, my opponent doesn't go for it. So now I'll play rook a1. Or rook a1 to be more accurate. Okay, takes. So yeah, my opponent will have to take on h7 if they ever want to move their rook. Okay, bishop f4 is a good move. They want to take back with the queen and then try to pressure my g4 pawn. We can allow that though. Now let's go bishop b2. Okay, so my opponent is pressuring me right now. However, it is worth... Oh, I wanted to play h6, but that just blunders to the queen. So what I can do right now is I can go queen h2 and offer a trade, and if no trade, I can try to bring my queen to c7 and threaten checkmate. Okay, my opponent will do that check, which is fine. I'm now threatening to play h6, so my opponent should really go for knight takes h7 before I just push through with my pawns. Okay, my opponent goes for that. Now I believe if I went to c7, my opponent probably has some checkmate with queen e3 check. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to play h6 now. Okay. King h1. With the queen. Okay. Opponent's playing quite well. Let's go king h f1. And through that whole sequence of moves, they can win my h6 pawn now. And now they can play rook g3, but I'll take on g7, so they should probably do something about, yeah, let's take on g7. They have d4 check. Let's go king h3. And wow, that was a very well played by my opponent. Hopefully they want a rematch, because they're quite a good player. Okay. Okay, knight f3, let's go bishop d6. Knight is a bit misplaced on f3, just because it can't really go to e5 or g5 or anything like that. Okay, let's go knight d7. Knight f8. Take here. This game might be a bit more straightforward. Last game was a bit complicated and ended up losing, um, but this game, I believe I've just gotten the trade-off of pawns, and my opponent hasn't really made much progress as white. So I believe I'm doing quite well in this game. Yeah, let's go bishop e4. Let's go rook e7. So yeah, I'm trying to just solidify my pieces. If bishop g4, I have f5. If bishop h3, I have rook takes h7. So either way, I'm getting a tempo on my opponent's bishop. Okay, here I'm winning some material, but my opponent's winning my pawn. So that actually is pretty good for them. I think that's actually the best move. I'm going to be up in exchange after this, but I might be down 2 pawns, 1 or 2 pawns. So we're getting a pretty... Oh, they didn't take the c4 pawn. Okay, I think that was a mistake. But yeah, my opponent's... this opponent's pretty good. So that's always nice to see. Let's go queen c7. Well, my opponent saw my bishop takes g3 ideas. So we have ourselves a very good opponent here. And now I don't even know if I'm better here. But I think maybe I am because I still have my pawns. I can now push them forward. I'm just going to play b5 there to stop the checkmate idea. Yeah, I'm up in exchange. I've gotten rid of my opponent's pawns around around this side of the board, and my pawns are still going strong on the other side of the board. So I believe I won the strategic battle of the opening, and now I can just push forward, and I'm also way up on the clock. So let's just push this pawn. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, good. My opponent brought the queen back. I'm only winning a rook there. I don't really want to, actually, let's go queen a5. And let's offer a queen trade because now we are up significant material. Yeah, you gotta watch the hanging rook. My opponent will run out of time, but I'm just up on material in this game. Okay, let's start g4. Let's see if my opponent plays takes. If they don't take, we just transpose into h4, h4 opening. So yeah, we're going to transpose. Now if they were to take and play queen e8, I have h5. If they take and play queen e8, I have h5 now. So now they couldn't play that. Okay, let's play bishop g2. Let's put some pressure on the d5 pawn. Because my opponent's setup this time is to bring the knight on c6. Okay, let's go h5. Okay, knight e2. Now I'm meeting queen d6 with bishop g3. Can go queen e3 now. Take back with the queen. Okay. My opponent's position is a little bit. My opponent's knight is on c6 now, so I think I can bring my knight into f4 in this game. If they play knight e7, then I have. Okay, that's a good move. My opponent is finding good moves. I can just move out of the pin though, so it's not a problem for me. Okay, I'm back from a quick break, and let's go rook e1. Now I believe I can. Well, I could have also taken before, but take here. Take on d5. I think my king's relatively safe because my bishop's on g2. Okay, now I can play rook e6. Just getting my rook into the position. Queen b8 will probably have to be played. Okay, queen g8 is also played, and that actually defends f6. Okay, let's go back to e3. I'm going to try to just win c4. I think I have my opponent's pieces under control. Okay, let's trade here. Now let's take on c4. Going for my opponent's pawns by force. Let's go to d2. Let's win b3. Here I can just go to take on a5. Oh. Let's take on a2. Okay. There's no mate. Okay, I think this is a checkmate. Check. My opponent takes the knight. I have a mate on a7. My opponent will go to c7 probably though. Now I can go queen a5 check. I can go queen d5, and there should be a mate next move. Or actually, my opponent can block queen d6. Or they could play that king back to c7. Okay, let's go to f7. Okay, there's no immediate mate actually. That's unfortunate. Let me play rook a1 to stop queen e1 and then queen h4 repetition. My opponent can take the knight, then I'll go queen rook a7 check though. Let's go there. Oh, I didn't realize I'm so low on time. Okay, we've got to play quicker. Let's pre-move knight d5 check. Okay. Let's take this bishop. Now I'm threatening queen c7 mate. That is mate. Should be smooth sailing. Okay, rook takes. My opponent will probably sacrifice the exchange there. Or maybe they won't. Let's go f5. Okay, they're threatening a fork potentially. Let's go here. Rook h4. I already have a dominant position. I've blocked my opponent from getting into my position, and I've won all my opponent's pawns near the king. Let's stick with the d-pawn. That way I can kind of block my opponent more. Okay, rook h5. Rook g4. And my opponent blundered. Okay, see if they're willing to play again. Let's go g4. I like g4 because it can transpose into h4 if they don't take on g6. So it's kind of like playing both g4 and h4 first. Bishop g3 stops that piece. Rook e8 is played. Let's go queen f3. Okay. My opponent's doing what they did in the game that they beat me, that they're just, they allowed me to take their pawns and they're coming in with their pieces. So I'm going to see if I can defend it this time around. So I guess first step is trying to get a rook to e1. Okay, let's go, so if I go queen f2, they check me and then they check there. Let's do that. So here, the last time when I lost, I tried to push these pawns. Maybe I should try to defend my opponent's attack first, or trade off the pieces. Then I can push my pawns in the endgame and win, because I've already gotten rid of my opponent's pawns. So here I'm meeting queen e4 check with bishop g2, and if they take on g4 after that, I can take the rook. They can play rook h3 check. After that though, then I play king g1, then yeah. Then they actually can win my g4 pawn. So now they can win my g4 pawn, which is unfortunate. Let's bring my rook to e1. And yeah, my opponent has a good position actually, so let's see if I can do anything about this. Go for my opponent's g7 pawn. And I forgot that piece is hanging. Here I'm going rook g8, just try to now I'm just trying to survive. Which after bishop d3 is probably not possible to survive. Okay, my opponent didn't find it. Go here. go rook g8. Okay, my opponent has 15 seconds on the clock. Opponent flags. Let's play bishop takes g6 here. Queen e8. Queen takes g6. Yeah, after this game we're going to switch to Citadel Crumble. Peeking on h7. Okay, let's just start pushing the pawns. Okay. Okay, just setting up the next game so I can chance him right away. Let's take with the queen. Yeah, I'm going to try to get the trade off so I can play a3 easily. My opponent will probably play queen f3. Then I can go, oh okay, or queen e6, same idea, I just go for that pawn. I think over here I can go queen f4 though. Now I'm expecting knight f3. Okay, let's go back over here to defend. Let's go here, a3. be game. Okay, and my opponent is actually gone, so it's perfect time to set up the second position. We'll play a few games. Okay, let's start. So this is the second pawn chain position. What is bishop? B4. I could just take. Okay, I don't know what my opponent is doing. Okay, that was a very strange first game. So yeah, basically in this position, both sides try to. Oh, it's the same opponent. Let's see if they actually try to play this game. Okay, let's play this. So anyways, in this position, both sides try to gain space and win pawns in the center of the board. Pawn promotion is a little bit of a threat, but not in the early part of the game. And there's some times where white can go knight h3, knight f2 and take, but normally both sides aren't sacrificing pieces to break up these strong pawn chains. So more times than not, the pawn chains stay intact. Other thing is that these pieces at the back rank for white can be a little bit weak, so black can like move the rooks and use the a file to try to attack that. If black's bishop moves, white could come in and like take this bishop and knight and check the king. The knight and the bishop are also kind of trapped as well, and these pieces are a little bit trapped for white as well, which makes it like harder to play. See if my opponent's gonna play. Sometimes you just have to give them a minute to think of the first move. Okay, queen f4 is played. Okay, let's go rook a8. I'm just trying to play on the a file. My opponent should probably play knight a3 to block my rook from coming in. Yep, knight a3 is played. Now I'm going to play knight b6 to go to d5. I could also play queen d5, queen a2, and try to bring my queen in. Whoa. That does not work. Weird two games we've had. Okay, my opponent did not resign, so we're going to keep playing. Let's take this now that there's no queen to go to h6. And then let's go queen d5. Queen a2. c6. Okay, go h5. Just go here, knight d5. Takes, takes. Bishop on c1 is trapped. Let's go here, g5. Let's play g4 and bishop h7. Let's go here. Take back with the pawn. g6. Yeah, after my opponent dropped the queen, there's nothing they could do. So we'll play here next. Queen takes a3. Now the d2 pawn is weaker. They take that and that. Just go d2. Check here. Here, promote to queen. Okay, let's see if my opponent wants to play again. Okay, same opponent. Let's play their move, queen f4. So I guess you can play queen d5, queen a2, or they could do that. Let's go g4. And yeah, let me do something. Let's do... This opponent is not very good, so can have a second game going. Let's take this. Okay, in this game, let's go knight h3. Okay. Okay. Take here. Back to this other game. Seems like it won't auto switch between boards, so I'm only going to be playing one game at once. 3. So yeah, this is a completely winning position right now. C3. H4. H5. Knight G5. Knight Ge4. They seem to play fine once they just drop a piece, but or play poorly in the opening. That's a little strange. Let's go there. Take. Check here. Go there. Take. Check. Okay, let's pick a new opponent. Okay. See how this one goes. Yeah, I guess this one's a little bit harder to come up with the first move than last position because it's less like themed to one specific idea, like pawn promotion. But this game can be very tactical and very, very positional. Which once you get good games, you can showcase that. But otherwise, if it's not, then you just kind of have to play through some games where your opponents will blunder or you will blunder, and there won't be too much there. Okay, I think I'll just stop for now and pick up at a later time.